Rajiv, what's the big news you want to share with us today?
Okay, June 1st, I'm not sharing news about the lockdown, breaking out, but I'm actually going to be starting operations for Antler, which is a global early stage VC firm from today in India.
Tell us what is Antler.
Sure. So Antler in itself is a startup, but it's an early stage VC firm, and the Antler model, it's only 2 years old, so I can talk for just the last 2 years, is to actually find entrepreneurs right at what I call the -1 to 0 phase, where someone wants to get into entrepreneurship, maybe they just have an idea or they just don't even have a co-founder, and take them over a 10-week period to at least get your co-founder and an idea, and over the next 4 months, get them to a stage where they're ready for raising a Series A, right? So look at it as the earliest stage of entrepreneurship. And if you can build, let's say, 70 to 100 startups every year, that's, I think, a phenomenal thing. And that's what Antler is trying to do. And the good part is Antler in itself is a startup. So I got pretty excited on this over the last 2-3 months.
You co-founded Urban Ladder. You ran it for 8 years, and then came the big announcement last year that you're moving on. Take us through the decision-making process, and then why did you choose Antler?
Okay, this is one question which I think has some 5 different questions, right?
Yes.
So if you just look at least the journey of Urban Ladder, right? And the entrepreneurship journey is, I think, a phenomenal one, right? It gives you the highs and the lows of like nothing else, right? And somewhere there, if you look at the role as a founder, I think you play multiple hats. One is that of a founder, one is that of the board member, and one is that as a professional, right? And there are times when even for founders, because see, the reason why people become entrepreneurs or founders is to create at some level a legacy. While I know legacy at some level is also a story that we tell ourselves, but creating institutions, creating systems, creating a legacy is what we do that, right? And when Ashish and me started that, let's say 8-9 years back, that was to make millions of homes beautiful, right? And we created that institution called Urban Ladder, and we got on board a lot of people, investors, customers, team members, and I think it was a phenomenal journey. During that time period also, individually, what you also realize is there are different phases of that journey where there are people that are better suited than you individually to do that, right? So you're still the founder, you're still a board member, but as a professional, maybe your professional duties are filled somewhere else better, right? And somewhere I think in that journey, as we became far more of an efficient omni-channel retailer during that 17-18 time period, I personally felt that, hey, as a professional, maybe my energies are suited for something else better, right? And as I said, I think it requires a very strong mind to understand the hats that you wear, because you can't, it gets very confusing, right? And that's just human, right? Because of the, you give a lot of value to what you've created. But it's true of even a real kid, right? I mean, you have a kid, and at 15, what you do with the kid is different from what you do at 7, and you have to let the kid do something else. And Ashish and me had always discussed this, and thankfully, I had Ashish in terms of having a lot of maturity in terms of some of these conversations, because he was just far better suited to run this. And somewhere in the 2018 time period, I said, okay, this makes sense. Let me sort of transition out. Of course, it takes time as a founder to find the right time and stuff. And when I left in 2019, I was on a blank slate because, at 40, very few people have this chance to, renew or restart their careers, right? So I went in with that assumption, and I talked to the board around, approximately actually a year back. Went in with a blank slate. Now at 40, like if you see what Jack Ma says, your 40s is where you have to go do something based on your strengths, right? In your 30s, you can try different things, you can create different stuff. In 20, you work with the bosses. In 60, you sort of retire. I felt that, okay, it was a lot of introspection to understand as to what is the thing that I'm good at, what is the thing that I really suck at. And I talked to a lot of people, right? A lot of people because also I think a lot of action had happened in the startup ecosystem. And so I used that time period after October, when I announced last year. Between October and February, just talk to a lot of people with no bias, right? Understand what's happening, what are the things that, make sense. VCs, first-time entrepreneurs, second-time entrepreneurs, even look at how to look at life during that kind of a break. And I got a fantastic set of inputs from literally, everyone in the ecosystem, right? And then I was in this, in February, where everything seemed right or everything seemed stupid, right? So I was like, okay, what on earth am I going to do next? So then I put at least what I felt based on a lot of conversations were my strengths, which is I just love working in the startup ecosystem and making people successful somewhere. And I also love building systems and products, right? So it was sort of a mix of being a player and being a coach, because in the last 3 years, I derived a lot of energy just getting people to be successful, right? And the startup ecosystem in India is something that in the next decade or 2 decades is going to create immense value. So I said, okay, it had to be something with respect to the startup ecosystem. It had to be something where I work, build institutions, build products, which is what, even in the Urban Ladder journey, I think in the first 3-4 years, I just got a lot of satisfaction in terms of what I did. And I also felt skill-wise I was suited for that phase, right? So that's how I went in, and somewhere I think in February mid, I realized, okay, all this means that instead of building a startup or joining as a senior role in some other startup that had already been there, and I had a bunch of conversations around a CEO role in a bunch of companies, right, or a CPTO role in well-funded startups. It felt like early stage VC was a great place because you're sort of working, you're coaching somewhere, and you're also building. And the earlier the stage, the better. But also, there's been a lot of challenges in doing that at an earlier stage, because if you look at it today in India, there's obviously a lot of entrepreneurs today and there's a lot of venture capitalist firms, and the last 10 years have proven that there is a lot of maturity there, right? A phenomenal set of talent. But everyone is sort of vying for the same set of talent, and you need to work slightly earlier on in that funnel to create far more talent to widen that funnel. So it just, one LinkedIn conversation from someone in Antler, they just cold pinged me and I was like, what is this company? I had no clue. This was just around the start of lockdown. And over those 10 weeks of the lockdown, I literally talked to 10 people in the Antler ecosystem, and a bunch of other conversations were happening. I felt, and I go by emotion, I go by, the feeling, and it felt like I got an energy which was almost equal or more at the start of Urban Ladder. Then through Zoom, if that was possible, there needs to be something right about the company, right? So it was just a phenomenal set of people, and I think very high on ambition, just a startup in themselves because it's just 2 years old. So I was just excited by the vision in terms of what I think we can do, which is create the next hundreds or thousands of startups in a very strong way, be of real impact to the founder because you go and work with them at the earliest stage. Success or failure, we'll know. But
and Antler is right now Singapore headquarters.
So Antler is Singapore headquartered. It's filled with a lot of both venture capitalists, operators, entrepreneurs. So it's got a very good mix. And these are people who have sold companies for $1 billion. People who have worked in the Goldman Sachs, the McKinseys, and culturally very strong, talent-wise very strong. I talked to like 10 partners, and like every conversation there was something new to learn, right? And just some ambition. We want to do something which is, I think, all entrepreneurs use world changing and making a dent in the universe. But really, if you go at that stage, that really is what you're doing, right? And it is sector agnostic. So you're creating impact in sectors relevant to the countries that you operate. And it's a model where it's already in 8 countries in just 2 years.
Wow. What is about Antler that will stand out in a market like India?
Sure. So I think so there needs to be a backstory to this, right? So I have talked to a lot of entrepreneurs in the last, specifically I would say 3-4 years, in forums, people sort of ping on LinkedIn, and literally if I were to pick 2 questions that people ask, they're very smart people, they don't know how to find their co-founder, okay? And this is the single biggest question by like 80:20 to the next question, right? And a lot of people ask, maybe it's a tech co-founder, maybe it's a business co-founder, someone has an idea. That's number 1. Number 2, what are the things that I need to do in that early phase, right? That both helps kickstart me as an entrepreneur as well as kickstarts the product towards raising a Series A or a Series B, right? And I believe from the Urban Ladder experience, I think we've done a bunch of things really well during that phase for sure. And also just personally as an individual, I'm able to sort of relate to that part really strongly. Now, if you look at the Antler model, compared to many other models, and I have a larger point on this because I think today is about market creation, and I think there is just place for a lot of models. Some might succeed, some might not, but I think every model is possible today. But I'll come to that point. But the Antler model goes at a time where really there is Shraddha in company XYZ who is so raring to go, who wants to create an impact, who has an idea or even a thought of a product, but they just don't know what next, right? They don't know how to find that tech co-founder. They don't have that network. They don't have that access. Shraddha could be in Delhi, Shraddha could be in Bangalore, she could be in Bhubaneswar, right? And I just have that energy and drive. And that's the person I want to pick, right? And then there's a 10-week process, right? Which is, I think, something that Antler has really tried to perfect, right? It's only a 2-year company. So, take it with that pinch of salt because I think we have a lot to learn over the next decade on this. But how do we pair that? What are the right drives? What are the motivations? How do we get? And so the biggest difference that I also see is Antler is building a technology platform to understand all of this, right? So internally, Antler, as I said, is a startup. It is building a technology platform. It is feeding in a lot of the data to say that, okay, this kind of a person, this kind of a profile matches. It's going to be very different for different markets. So take that with a pinch of salt. So you do that in that 10-week process. At the end of the 10th week, you have an IC, right? A Y Combinator or a Surge, and most of these folks come right after that stage, right? We come in certainly at the stage where you're even generating the idea, right? So that is certainly at an earlier stage. And there, at that point, you sort of have an investment committee decision and give, let's say, whatever that, different markets, maybe it's different money, but $100,000 or $150,000 at that stage. So that's the first intervention money-wise, right? As I said, the second big part is how do I build a product and how do I build myself as a founder, right? Because there is very little maturity in coaching the founder.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my biggest realizations is I think the founder personally goes through a huge set of ups and downs, right? And during that journey, it could be everything from just figuring out personal ambitions to co-founder dynamics to every aspect, right? And there again, I feel we can add a lot of value. And then at the end of the 4th month, the 6th month in the program, you sort of raise a pre-series A or a series A or which is where I go to the VC partners and say, hey, this is the company, right? And if I can utopian do like every entrepreneur who comes in creates companies and every company gets a series A, that's for me is success, right?
Yeah.
So I feel, and as I said, different players play different roles here. Antler, I feel, has a very strong proposition here at this part and take this all the way. And today, I also feel, I think there's just a lot to learn across from all of this, right? People have set up accelerators, incubators in India. And today, as I said, is a time where I think all of us have to work together to just increase this market size.
Yeah.
Because Israel, as I said, Israel, which is a country which is probably the population of less than Bangalore, right, has already 20 unicorns. And when I say unicorns, not as much by valuation as companies that have scaled. And India has maybe 30 unicorns today, right? And I think over the next 2 decades, this number can be in the hundreds. Hundreds of companies that are built for scale, and I think we all need to do that together at different stages.
You are an entrepreneur. You have built a business from scratch, and somehow I just think entrepreneurs can help entrepreneurs
Absolutely.
the best.
And the good part is, see, we also have to, and this is a model where I have to raise local funds to do all this. So I am still wearing my entrepreneur hat to raise money, to work with the ecosystem, functional specialists, people who are VCs, things that you would do as your own startup. So imagine I'm creating a startup which is creating startups. And that gave me a lot of kick actually to go with Antler. And the conversations with the team and the kind of backgrounds they have in terms of raising money. And, these are people who have invested in the early days in Tokopedia and Grab and really thought out decisions. So there's a lot to learn in any of those conversations. So that's the reason why I chose that.
I want to understand some of the things like the insecurity of letting go. Like letting go something that one creates, or where will I be?
It's a journey of self-awareness, and one of the toughest skills, right? And even the smartest of people, the highest intent, find this whole journey of self-awareness very, very difficult, right? And somewhere for me, I think only in the last 3 years, I would say, not even in the first 4 years of Urban Ladder, only in the last 3-4 years, both personally as well as professionally, that journey has been a lot stronger. It has also obviously shaken me up, and this whole concept of identity and you're talked about in the press and all of that is fine, and we all need our highs, we all need to climb our own Maslow's hierarchy our own way, but at somewhere there you realize what really life is about, what you want to do, right? And somewhere there I think and me on this front, just a lot of this I have also talked about with people. And I'm happy to chat even on the personal front and one life and stuff, but I think that point, maybe it's a gradual thing, maybe it's one aha moment, it just depends on who you are. I think everything else beyond what you're doing at this particular point in time, even you're starting afresh with absolutely all the humility that you're going to learn, you're going to again probably fail, all of it is possible. You're going to literally start on ground zero anytime you do something, right? The good part is maybe use what you have learned, don't repeat some of those failures, but you're going to start on ground zero. This is true on relationships, on professional, on every front, right? So as long as you go in with that mindset that it is day zero, wherever I'm doing, whatever I'm doing, I think Amazon and Jeff Bezos talk about it really, really strongly, then, there is just one way up, right? You learn, you succeed 2 years, you put your heart out, maybe you fail, and then you again restart.
Yeah.
Right? I think a lot of us, and my guru Naval Ravikant, at that he talks about all of us think that we are climbing mountains and we are somewhere there, and we refuse to jump to a different mountain because we can see the peak, right? I don't think life or careers are like that, right? It's a journey, right? You go, today you are in Africa, you're looking at, let's say, the safari. You're not asking for clean roads and AC.
Yeah.
You go to Europe, you ask for culture, right? And you go to America, you ask for great roads. You can't, there's no one magical land where you get all of it,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's the way I would look at careers. I'm starting from ground zero. I have a lot to learn today as an early stage VC firm. I'm going to do some success, I'm going to fail. Let's see where it goes. I'll give my heart out, and if it works out great, I think I would have created a lot of impact. At the end of the day, if you're clear on that, hey, I want to build institutions, I want to create impact, I want to make sure I want to work with a lot of smart people, then things work out,
So tell us about One Life and tell us about the personal journey which also shapes us to be who we are.
I think, this is one of the things that, I can do a separate conversation, and I have a podcast running, but maybe for some other day. But see, if you look at it, I think all of us are telling stories, right? What is the whole One Life thing? It's a story that I'm telling myself, and hopefully in the process also sharing with a few others who might believe it. Maybe you believe some parts of it, maybe someone else believes some parts of it. So I think that story that we tell ourselves, there are certain things which are universal truths, right? And if you look at it, if I were to just, for the sake of brevity of this conversation, I think all of us live once, and we only remember this one life, right? And let's say, I'm at 41, I've gone through a bunch of experiences, none of that I can go change. I have no prediction of the future. If anything the coronavirus has done, it says screw all the plans. There is nothing that you can plan in life. So if that's true of all the future plans, and if that's true of the past, all you have is the current moment, right? And if you have full choice on what you're doing this current moment, by this current moment I'm talking to you by full choice, right? And if I have full choice on what I'm doing this current moment, I think you have cracked life, right? Now, there are 4 aspects of any human being, and anything and everything you do sits in one of these 4 aspects. You either work on your own self, which is your body, your mind, your soul, whatever, right? You be of service, which is where you do work, and you create some impact, right? Third is you spend time with your loved ones, your relationships, and the fourth one is you just go have fun, right? Anything that you do fits into one of these 4 aspects. And as long as you're clear for a particular phase of life, which is the anchor aspect, for example, for this phase of life, for the next decade, 2 decades, I've chosen that work is going to be my anchor. I'm going to go all in on this antler journey, right? And then obviously you have some time that you dedicate to the other aspects based on how much time you have. The fundamental truth of life is, whether it's you or whether it's me or whether it's Bill Gates or whether it's a fresher from college, all of us have 168 hours in a week. If you remove 48 hours for sleep, which is 7 into 7 approximately, you have 120 hours left. And if I say self is something that we all have to take care, otherwise we're going to get screwed in the future. So you park off, let's say, 2 to 3 hours every day there, because you have to take a bath, you have to get ready, you have to eat, all of that stuff. So you just park off that, you're left with 100 hours. You're left with 100 hours, I'm left with 100 hours, someone else is also left with 100 hours. How you allocate those 100 hours between those 3 other aspects of life is all that you can choose, right? If you have clarity that whatever I'm doing at that particular point in time is by choice, you have cracked life, right? Now, a lot of people are confused, a lot of people are in limbo, a lot of people are just living their life because they have to, they don't make those choices. And somewhere there, I think even till 2016, and this is not something that I knew for long, and I make enough mistakes even today on this, even theoretically knowing all this, but if you can live a life by choice for almost all of those 100 hours, do things which are of use to others, because I very strongly believe, be good, because the only duty of being a human is to be good, and I know it gets into Gyan territory, I'm sorry,
but it's true. Yeah.
If you can be of service, if you can be good to other humans, I think you're doing a fabulous job. Then you divide, right? And see, the thing is, all of our generation and going forward, I think we will always be doing something with our mind very actively, even till our death, right? Because we can't just sit idle.
Yeah.
And it's easy theoretically, and I have been in these phases, right? Where I have prioritized, let's say, relationships, I have prioritized just having fun, even in the last year, 2 years, where I've been on break and stuff. But really, if you know yourself well, and if you understand which is the one anchor that gives you a lot of positivity and just makes you wake up every day, then you can really prioritize your time. And that is my journey. And unfortunately, all of us, until we get one jhatka in life, we don't really get to live this, right?
Yeah.
Because we just live with inertia. We don't want to break out of the mold. And I got jhatkas both in professional and personal life in 2016 August, around 4 years back. And that is what it took for me to even understand. And this story, I just read a lot, I heard a lot, and I put this story, and I also have a podcast now that in the last month I have started just to share some of this. And I just believe that you don't need to have a jhatka to get to this, because that's unnecessary. But if you have some level of realization combined with self-awareness, you can just get to the point that you are living that life that you choose to live every moment. Easier said than done. I know people have different education loans, home loans, different backgrounds, all of that stuff, but at least geared towards different aspects of life, trying to, and with time, with age, with some experience, with successes, failures, maybe more and more of those aspects you can live by choice.
What is your podcast called?
It's called One Life Theory. I just needed something where the domain onelife.com was not available. So my very good friend who's a designer who designed the logo of One Life also, he said, hey, why not One Life Theory? I said, okay.
Before we end, to everyone who's watching, what is it that you'd like us to take in terms of Antler, and how can people engage with you?
Sure. So I actually have created a nice Google form. So I'm going to sort of maybe, if you can share that in this article, that will really help. So people can put forth, because see this, so for all the entrepreneurs or people who have any thought of entrepreneurship, I would say Antler is going to be a very strong platform where you can come, because for me, for the next decade, my success is very simple. Can I create great entrepreneurs and great companies with the help of the entire ecosystem? So that's the second part. So either you're an entrepreneur or you're part of the ecosystem that's going to help. That could be media, that could be a functional specialist where you want to come on board as a mentor, that could be a VC, that could be someone who wants to invest in Antler itself in terms of raising the funds locally. So bucket A or bucket B, that link will take care of reaching out at least to me. And over the next many weeks and months, I'm just going to make sure that we reach out to this ecosystem and make this happen, right? Because it is not an easy task. I know that part, because it's not that working at this stage there have been too many companies that have been built, very few success stories. But I think if we can do that together and use the power of the global platform, because the biggest advantage that a company like Antler offers is not just the technology platform that powers Antler itself, it's also a global platform. Every year, every cohort, there are 500 other companies graduating from a Sydney, from a New York, from a Beijing, and you literally have a client base of another 400 global companies. So if you're, let's say, a SaaS company, right? You have suddenly a client base of all the past Antler companies plus the current Antler companies. So anyone who's interested in building scalable companies, right? This is about building startups, not just about starting up. And there's a big difference between the two, right? You are building as a startup, it's about high growth. You're building something that's scalable, which essentially means you're using something very strongly technology, right? You're taking things to a wider mass. So which means be ready for the learning, because you're growing a company 2x, 3x, 4x every year. You individually have to grow 2x, 3x, 4x. Right? That's going to shake you up. And you're also going to be dealing with customers at that scale, which means also you're going to raise a lot of money.
Yeah.
Be ready for that journey. And if you're interested in that journey or partnering in that journey, reach out to me and I'll certainly connect back with you.
Thank you so much. All the very best. And Rajiv, we hope that Antler goes on to build a lot of interesting scalable ventures out of India.